He smiled underwater, while I choked. My son, my only child. Devin Slate said it. Your son just cut your oxygen line. And when I looked up through my leaking mask, there he was, calm, hovering beside my donor, like he was watching me drown on purpose. But that wasn't even the worst part. Back on the boat, he told them I was delusional, said I was too tired to lead safely, and they believed him. Clients canceled. Funding vanished. I built this dive empire from salt and sweat, and now the same boy I raised was stealing it from under me. What he didn't know? I had cameras rolling, and one last breath left. My name is Alicia Monroe, and I'm 45 years old. As owner of Blue Horizon diving tours off the Florida coast, I split my days between guiding specialized reef expeditions and maintaining meticulous safety protocols at our Bahia Honda facility. The familiar dawn brine fills my lungs as I review today's logs, the gentle hum of air compressors mixing with crying gulls overhead. My son Marcus, who grew up watching me catalog reef data through countless late nights and missed birthdays, now serves as my apprentice instructor, though his hunger for recognition burns brighter than his love for the sea itself. What he doesn't know is that I've installed redundant emergency systems and underwater cameras throughout our diving zones, quietly recording every movement below the surface. But let me start from the beginning. It should have been a routine donor dive that morning. Sandra Whitmore, our most generous benefactor, had come down from Boston to review the artificial reef project her foundation sponsored. The renewal of her grant would fund our entire next season of research. I'd done these showcase dives 100 times, just another day pointing out flourishing coral colonies and collecting water quality data. You ever notice how the ocean gives warnings? The surface was glass calm that day, currents running mild enough that even our most nervous clients would have felt at ease. Visibility stretched to 60 feet, the kind of crystal clarity that makes you forget you're suspended in an alien world. I remember thinking it was perfect conditions to impress Sandra. Devin, my senior instructor, took point on the descent. Marcus stayed back, supposedly to mind our rear guard. We'd done this formation countless times during training. Devin leading, me explaining the science, Marcus handling safety. The rhythm was as natural as breathing. Speaking of breathing, that's when everything changed. We'd reached our target depth when Devin's slate flashed in his gloved hand. At first, I thought he was noting some interesting marine life. But the graphite strokes carved 5 words that turned my blood to ice. Your son just cut your oxygen line. My lungs seized up instantly. You know that moment when your mind refuses to process what your eyes are seeing? That's where I was, floating there at 60 feet, staring at those words, while a small hiss of escaping air confirmed the unthinkable. I forced myself to look back. There was Marcus, hovering just behind Sandra, his fin tips barely moving to maintain position. His eyes met mine through his mask, unblinking, unflinching. Like he was watching a stranger, training kicked in before panic could. I checked my gauges, pressure dropping faster than normal, just like Devin's slate warned. With practiced movements, I switched to my backup octopus regulator. The metallic taste hit my tongue along with fine grit from the spare mouthpiece, but the air flowed steady. Clean, safe. Sandra's eyes had gone wide behind her mask. She'd seen enough diving accidents in her years of marine conservation to recognize something was wrong. Devin held up the emergency ascent signal, waiting to see if I'd call the dive. Here's the thing about being 60 feet underwater. You've got precious little time to think through your options. Call it off too soon, spook your donor, and watch next season's funding vanish faster than bubbles hitting the surface. But stay down too long with compromised gear? That's how divers end up as statistics. I steadied my buoyancy, forced my breathing to slow. The backup regulator was working fine. We had maybe 10 minutes left on our planned bottom time. I could handle this, had to handle this, long enough to not alarm Sandra unnecessarily. Let me tell you something about betrayal, though. It's got a weight all its own, heavier than any lead on your belt. I looked one more time at Marcus, trying to find some sign that Devin had made a mistake. that this was all some horrible misunderstanding. My son drifted there, casual as could be, his face hidden behind that black mask like some stranger who'd stolen his gear. The slate's accusation followed us through the rest of that dive, pounding in my head like a depth alarm. Your son just cut your oxygen line. Your son just cut your oxygen line. Back on the boat deck, reality hit harder than the Florida sun needling my salt-burned eyes. My wetsuit felt too tight, the neoprene collar choking as I watched Devin pull Sandra aside. His whispered words carried just enough for me to catch fragments. Line was cut. His own mother. Never seen anything. You know those moments when your world shifts and suddenly everything looks sharp-edged and strange? That's where I was, standing on my own deck, feeling like a stranger. Marcus stripped off his gear with practiced efficiency, all business as usual. I waited until Sandra disappeared into the cabin to make her mysterious phone call before I approached him. The deck boards creaked under my feet. Funny how you notice little details when your life's about to explode. Marcus, I kept my voice steady, professional. We need to discuss what happened down there. He looked up, flashing that easy smile he'd perfected since childhood. What do you mean, Mom? The dive went great. Sandra seemed really into the new coral formations. Devin saw you cut my airline. The words hung there between us, heavy as anchor chain. For just a second, so brief I almost missed it, something cold flickered behind his eyes. Then he laughed, the sound thin and dismissive. Devin's always been kind of jumpy underwater. Marcus shrugged, coiling his gear lines, with deliberate care. You've been pushing yourself too hard lately, Mom. Maybe you're both seeing things that aren't there. The line was cut, Marcus. Not snagged, not tangled. Cut. Come on. He sighed, like I was being unreasonable. You know how those old hose sleeves can catch on coral. One snag looks just like a slice. Devin probably panicked over nothing. I watched my son lie to my face with perfect calm, and something inside me went very, very quiet. 23 years of birthdays, scraped knees, proud moments, all of it seemed to blur and shift like looking through disturbed water. Sandra chose that moment to emerge from the cabin. Her face had that careful blank look wealthy people get when they're about to deliver bad news. Thank you for the interesting dive, Dr. Monroe. Her tone was pure Boston ice. I'll have my office contact you about the grant status. I knew, right then, we'd lost her. The stiff way she avoided eye contact, the mechanical handshake, 20 years of marine biology funding experience screamed that the money was gone. Back in my office, I logged everything while it was fresh. Time stamps, exact depth, air pressure readings. I photographed the nicked hose sleeve from 3 angles, noting the clean diagonal cut that no coral could have made. The incident report went into my private files, marked urgent. Have you ever watched your life's work unravel in real time? The email came at 8:47 the next morning. Sandra's foundation was withdrawing all sponsorship effective immediately, citing unresolved family instability as their primary concern. Just like that, half our seasonal budget evaporated. My phone started buzzing by 9. First, it was the University Partner Program wanting to review our collaboration agreement. Then, 3, private research clients requesting temporary postponement. By lunch, my calendar looked like it had been attacked with an eraser. The worst part? Every cancellation fell within the refund window for prepaid expeditions. I sat there watching our bank balance crater in real time, each refresh of the portal showing another line item in red. Dive fees, equipment rentals, research contracts, all of them draining away like sand through an hourglass. The marina's always been a small world, but I never knew how fast bad news could travel until that week. You know how whispers work in tight communities. They start as ripples and end as waves. Captain Alvarez was first. We'd run joint reef seminars for 3 seasons, splitting the profits clean down the middle. His text came during my morning equipment check. Need to postpone next month's choral workshop. Schedule conflicts. Right. Because after 15 years of clockwork reliability, His calendar suddenly got too full. I was still staring at that message when Renee, my most promising student researcher, appeared in the doorway. Her shoulders were hunched, fingers twisting the strap of her dive bag. "Dr. Monroe, I hate to do this, but you need your deposit back," I finished for her. My throat felt tight, but I kept my voice steady. The smell of neoprene and salt air, usually so comforting, seemed to mock me now. "It's just, there are these rumors." She couldn't quite meet my eyes. "I understand." I pulled up her paperwork right then, processed the refund while she watched. Professional to the end. That's what my mother taught me. "Your recommendation letter for grad school is still good, Renee. This doesn't change that." After she left, Carl Lindholm from Ocean Dreams Tours called. We'd had a sweet referral, arrangement for years. He sent his overflow clients my way. I made sure they got the premium treatment. "Look, Alicia," he sighed. "I'm hearing things. Maybe we should cool it for a while, yeah?" Just like that, another income stream dried up. But what really twisted the knife was seeing Marcus's social media blitz that afternoon. Fresh, polished posts promoting Marcus Blue Ventures started flooding local diving groups. His smiling face next to phrases like fresh leadership and enhanced safety protocols felt like slaps. Remember when I said I'd document everything? I tried fighting back with facts, sent careful emails to our client list showing our perfect safety record, complete with certification renewals and equipment maintenance logs. Added recent photos of successful dives, testimonials from satisfied customers. You'd think solid evidence would matter, right? But by sunset, 3 more morning bookings had canceled. Funny how trust works. Takes years to build, seconds to break. I needed backup, institutional support to steady the ship. The board could help control the narrative, I thought. God, I was naive. My request for an emergency meeting bounced straight to Darlene Walker, our chair. Her response was pure corporate silk. "Dear Alicia, while we appreciate your concerns regarding recent operational challenges, the board feels it would be premature to convene formally at this juncture. Perhaps a cooling-off period would better serve all parties involved. Let's maintain appropriate professional boundaries as we navigate this sensitive situation." Translation. They weren't touching this mess with a 10-foot pole. Devin tried to help, bless him. Sent me a detailed account of what he'd witnessed underwater, offered to speak to anyone who needed confirmation. But his warning came with it. Darlene had lunch with Marcus yesterday. She seemed impressed, called him refreshingly ambitious. The compressors were running when I got that news, filling tanks for dives that might never happen now. I stood in the gear room, counting cylinders like I'd done thousands of times before. 36 tanks lined up in their racks. The machine's steady thrum used to sound like a heartbeat to me, as natural as breathing. Now it just sounded like time running out. There it was. My son wasn't just trying to hurt me anymore. He was trying to replace me. The email from Terry in property management dropped like a depth charge. Subject line: Facility Agreement, 180-day notice. My fingers trembled as I clicked it open. "Dear Ms. Monroe, this courtesy reminder confirms your facility lease agreement expires in 6 months. As per Section 12.3, both registered. Signatories, Monroe A and Monroe M, must demonstrate clear ownership, standing to qualify for renewal." I pushed back from my desk, the leather chair squeaking against the worn carpet. 6 months. The same office I decorated 15 years ago. The framed reef photographs, the certification plaques, even the coffee-stained coaster from our first successful season, suddenly felt like borrowed space. The printer hummed, spitting out the lease agreement. 28 pages of legal language I should have read more carefully when Marcus turned 21 and I'd added him as co-signatory. Pride makes you blind sometimes, doesn't it? I found Section 12.3 and circled it in red. In the event ownership integrity is challenged, facility rights transfer to the partner demonstrating consistent operational continuity. My stomach clenched. I pulled up our financials, forcing myself to face the numbers. Payroll for Devin and our part-time staff, Insurance premiums that wouldn't budge even with fewer dives. Fuel costs for the boats. Equipment maintenance. The spreadsheet painted an ugly picture. At our current booking rate, we'd be underwater in 4 months. The familiar scent of salt air and sunscreen drifted through my open window, mingling with the drone of boat engines from the marina. I'd built this business monitoring reef recovery, patterns, teaching new divers to respect the ocean's rhythms. Now here I was, watching my own life's work sink. I speed-dialed Carmen Vega, my attorney since the divorce. She picked up on the second ring. "Carmen, I need your eyes on something. Lease clause about operational continuity." "Send it over." Papers shuffled on her end. "How bad?" "Marcus is positioning for a takeover. I've got 6 months to prove I'm the stable operator, or he gets everything." She was quiet for a moment, then, "Forward me all correspondence, incident reports, booking records. We need to document your leadership track record." A pause. "And Alicia? Keep running classes, even at a loss. Showing continuous operation matters more than profit right now." I grabbed a legal pad, started mapping out the next 6 months. Demonstration dives we could film, guest lectures at the community college, certification, courses, even if we had to discount them. But looking at the calendar on my wall, the empty squares mocked me. Used to be we were booked solid 3 months out. "One more thing," Carmen added. "Get the board on record supporting you. Written statements, meeting minutes, anything official." "The board's already wobbling." My pen dug into the paper. "Marcus got to them somehow." "Then document that too. Every email, every declined meeting request. Paper trails matter." I worked until the sun dropped behind the marina's storage buildings, casting long shadows across my desk. The stabilization plan took shape. Weekly specialty courses, monthly open houses, targeted marketing to our old client base. 6 months of grinding uphill, but what choice did I have? The security system beeped as I locked up. Outside, dark clouds stacked over the water like walls. Tomorrow's weather report predicted choppy seas. Fitting, really. I set my phone alarm for 5:30 a.m., early enough to check equipment before the morning tide. 6 months, 6 chances to prove what I'd built wasn't just some hobby I could hand over to my son's fresh leadership. 0 room for mistakes. The marina lights flickered on, casting yellow pools across the empty parking lot. I touched the weather-worn sign we'd hung that first season. Monroe Marine Tours, where science meets adventure. Behind it, Marcus's sleek new banner already covered half the wall. Marcus Blue Ventures, the future of Florida diving. I checked my watch. 7:45 p.m. In exactly 6 months at this same time, I'd either still be locking up my own business, or I'd be handing over my keys to the son who tried to drown everything I'd created. Ever tried putting together a jigsaw puzzle while someone keeps hiding the pieces? That's what gathering evidence felt like that week. I started with Devin, who'd been teaching with me for 3 years. We met at the quiet end of the pier, away from curious ears. "I'll write it all down," he said, pulling out his diving logbook. The slate message, his position behind the donor, that smile when your gauge dropped. His pen scratched against paper, precise as a surgeon. "But Alicia, Marcus has been talking to everyone, making it sound like you're, burning out." I nodded, my jaw tight. "Keep writing." Next was Lila, our part-time deckhand. She'd overheard Marcus and me on the dock right after that dive. "He was so smooth about it," she said, twisting her rope bracelet. "Kept saying you were tired and seeing things." Made my skin crawl, honestly. She wrote out her statement, dates and times included. The stack of evidence grew. Renee's email describing how Marcus had pulled her aside. After class, voice dripping with concern about my fatigue issues. Tank maintenance logs showing my regulators had been perfect during morning checks. Dive computer data proving steady depth and air consumption. Even photos of that nicked hose sleeve, the cut clean as a shark's tooth. You know that feeling when you've got truth in your hands, but people still doubt you? That's what hit me during the Zoom board meeting. Darlene Walker's face filled my screen, her pearl earrings catching the light as she studied me like I was a specimen under glass. We're here to address concerns about operational stability, she began, lips pressed thin. Member Nguyen has some questions. Thao leaned forward, her home office backdrop perfectly arranged. Alicia, we're worried about your emotional fitness. The stress of running daily operations while managing family dynamics. I kept my voice steady. I appreciate the concern. Let me share my screen. Marcus's window popped up then, late but camera ready. Perfect angle, crisp polo shirt, concerned son expression firmly in place. Sorry I'm delayed. Had to finish with a student. He paused, voice softening. Mom, we all see how hard you're pushing yourself, how overextended you've become. My blood pressure spiked, but I forced my hands to move calmly across the keyboard. First slide, Devon's underwater slate, the warning clear as day. Next, close-ups of the damaged equipment, timeline spreadsheets, witness statements, all of it organized, time-stamped, verified. These materials clearly show, I started. We'll need independent verification, Darlene cut in, given the personal nature of these allegations. Personal nature? My own son tried to compromise my air supply and they wanted more proof? The frustration sat like lead in my chest. But something else crystallized too. A cold, clear understanding. They weren't looking for truth. They were looking for the cleanest solution to what they saw as a messy family problem. I can provide additional documentation, I said, watching the red dots of canceled events blink across my calendar like warning lights. What we need, Darlene said, is time to evaluate the situation properly. Her gaze flicked to Marcus's window. Perhaps a temporary step back would help reduce potential liability concerns. The meeting ended without resolution. I sat there staring at my dark screen, feeling the weight of what had just happened. They'd shifted the burden of proof onto me, the victim, while my attempted saboteur sat pretty in their good graces. Darlene's email arrived within the hour. Dear Alicia, the board suggests a voluntary leave of absence while we assess recent events. This would help protect both you and the organization from any potential liability issues during this sensitive period. Please consider this option carefully. Regards, Darlene Walker, Board Chair. I printed the email, added it to my growing file of evidence, and checked the calendar again. Another day gone, another red X marking canceled bookings. Through my office window, channel markers blinked in the gathering dusk, warning boats, away from hidden dangers. The morning after that disastrous board meeting, Jerome Ellis shuffled into my office, clutching a manila folder like it held bad news. I'd known Jerome for 12 years. He'd helped set up my first business account when the shop was just a dream and a stack of permits. Now, he was doing that thing with his glasses where he cleaned them 3 times before speaking. Never a good sign. Alicia. He settled into the chair, across from my desk, folder placed precisely parallel to the edge. I've been reviewing our position. The compressor out back skipped a beat, that steady thrum faltering just enough to make me glance toward the window. I'd need to check the belts again, another item on an endless list. Jerome, if you're here about the insurance premium. 14 days, he said, nodding. Yes, that's part of it. He opened the folder, rectangular glasses catching the morning light. But I'm more concerned about overall sustainability, the cancellations, the family situation. He paused, choosing words carefully. Have you considered a brief sabbatical? My spine stiffened. A sabbatical. Just until things settle. Protect your health. Let the brand recover. While Marcus poaches my client base, the words came out sharper than I intended. Through the wall, I heard the compressor sputter. Again, like it was agreeing with my frustration. Jerome spread his hands. I know it's not ideal, but from a financial perspective, I need to maintain operational continuity. I pulled up my revised class schedule on the monitor. Look, I've adjusted the group sizes, streamlined the offerings, 2 advanced courses instead of 4, basic certification focused on smaller classes. I clicked through to my call log. Made contact with previous clients yesterday. 2 tentative bookings for next month. That's something. Jerome studied the numbers, but his forehead stayed creased. Still significantly below. My phone buzzed. A notification from Marcus's business page. He'd posted a new video. Right there in my office, with Jerome watching, I hit play. Marcus stood on a sunset dock, wetsuit half unzipped, looking every inch the confident young instructor. "Safety is everything in diving," he said, voice smooth as Gulf water. "When leadership becomes unstable, when protocols get compromised," he shook his head sadly. "That's why proper training and consistent oversight matter, why fresh perspectives save lives." He never mentioned me by name. Didn't have to. "This is what we're facing," I told Jerome, turning the phone face down. He's positioning himself as the solution to a problem he created. I opened my laptop, pulled up the video response I'd recorded last night. No dramatic sunset, just me in my office, certification certificates visible on the wall behind me. 30 seconds of calm professionalism, our safety record, our protocols, our continued commitment to excellence. Not a word about Marcus or family drama. "It's solid," Jerome admitted. "Professional, but..." Rain started peppering the windows, an afternoon shower rolling in off the Gulf. I stood and walked to the wall map while Jerome talked numbers. Our planned reef transects were marked with pins, red for canceled bookings, blue for confirmed. The red ones were winning. "Which brings us back to the sabbatical option," Jerome finished. "Give yourself space to..." My phone buzzed again. A voicemail transcription popped up. "Alicia, it's Darlene. I know you're dedicated, but people are nervous. Please consider stepping back. Let things cool down. We can..." I deleted it before finishing. The rain drummed harder, matching the compressor's uneven beat. My whole life was in this room. The maps, the certificates, the carefully built reputation. And now everyone wanted me to walk away from it. The lights flickered once, rain and wind picking up outside. Jerome gathered his papers, tucking them back into the folder with accountant precision. "Just think about it," he said, standing. "A strategic retreat isn't the same as surrender." But we both knew it was. In the dive business, you're either in the water or you're not. There's no halfway. The power flickered again as Jerome left, shadows dancing across my wall of achievements. In the distance, thunder rolled across the bay like a warning. Night crept over the marina like spilled ink, turning the water to obsidian. I sat on the weathered pier bench, my usual evening spot for reviewing the day's books. But tonight, the ledger stayed closed in my lap. What was the point? 6 more cancellations had bled across my desk since lunch, each one another nail in my business's coffin. You ever notice how salt feels different when it's from tears instead of seawater? I rubbed my cheeks, feeling that familiar gritty crust. But this wasn't from diving. This was from watching everything I'd built crumble, hour by hour, client by client. The Atlantic whispered below, gentle waves lapping at the pilings. 5 months and 18 days left on that lease. The number played on repeat in my head, like one of those depth gauges that won't stop beeping when you drift too deep. Except I couldn't just kick up to safer water this time. I closed my eyes, but all I could see was Marcus's face behind that mask, 60 feet down. That flat, empty stare, while my air hissed away. Had it always been there, that coldness? Had I just refused to see it? Maybe I misread everything, I whispered to the darkness. Every moment, every year. The thought hit me like a weight belt to the chest. What if I just stopped, shut down the shop, sell the boat, maybe go back to grant writing for some university inland? Let Marcus have his victory. At least I'd be away from the water, away from the constant reminder of... Footsteps creaked on the boardwalk behind me. I didn't turn. I knew those measured steps. Thought I might find you out here. Gloria Johnson's voice carried the same steady tone she'd used to coach me through my first rescue diver certification, 15 years ago. She settled onto the bench beside me, the old diving scar along her collarbone catching the dock light. Here. She pressed a warm thermos into my hands. Coffee. Real coffee, not that Break room stuff you drink. I managed a weak smile. Thanks. The warmth helped. I hadn't realized how numb my fingers had gotten. Talk to me, Gloria said simply. No preamble, no platitudes, just the direct approach that had made her a legend among Florida's diving community before she retired. So I talked about Marcus's betrayal, the donor's withdrawal, the cascade of cancellations, the board's skepticism, Jerome's suggestion of sabbatical, the lease deadline hanging over everything. My voice cracked when I described that moment underwater, watching my own son smile while my air bled away. Gloria listened in silence, her weathered hands folded in her lap. When I finally ran out of words, she nodded once. You know what I see? She asked. I see them all following the current. Board, clients, even your accountant. They're drifting wherever the pressure takes them. She turned to face me fully. But pressure changes with depth, doesn't it? What are you saying? I'm saying people follow two things, confidence and proof. Right now, Marcus is providing the confidence, so give them the proof. I frowned. I've tried. The photos, the witness statements. No. Gloria's voice sharpened. Stop playing defense. Make him show who he is. Something in her tone made me sit straighter. The fog of defeat started to thin as her words sank in. They will follow confidence and proof, Gloria repeated. So let's give them both. She squeezed my shoulder, her grip still strong despite the years away from diving. You didn't build this business by accident, Alicia. You built it by understanding human nature as well as ocean currents. The darkness felt less absolute now. Ideas started forming, pieces clicking together like a dive plan coming into focus. Gloria stood, her silhouette solid against the starlit water. Bait the greed, she said. Document the truth. The coffee in Gloria's thermos had gone cold, but my mind was finally heating up. We spent the next hour sketching out a plan on my waterproof notepad, the kind I usually reserved for underwater species counts. A showcase dive, Gloria mused, tapping the page. But not just any showcase. We need witnesses who matter. I nodded, already building the guest list. Candace Lee from the Herald. She's got a reputation for fact-checking everything 3 times over. Good. Who else? Patel Oceanic Trust. They've been looking to fund local conservation initiatives. I wrote another name. And Darlene Walker. Gloria raised an eyebrow. The board chair who's been giving you grief? Exactly. She needs to see this with her own eyes, not through Marcus's filter. You know that feeling when a dive plan starts coming together? When all the variables, current, visibility, air consumption, align just right? That's how it felt as Gloria and I mapped out every detail. First order of business, the camera array. I'd been testing an underwater setup for documenting reef recovery, but this called for something more comprehensive. By midnight, I had reconfigured the beta system for continuous capture from multiple angles. Come morning, I mounted a spare rig on the bow. Can't have too many eyes on the water. The key, Gloria reminded me, is making everything official. Above board, documented. She was right. I drafted the invitation emails with careful precision. Join us for a special demonstration dive showcasing collaborative marine leadership. Local press and conservation partners welcome. Full safety protocols and equipment inspection on display. The last invitation went to Marcus. That one I wrote 3 times before getting the tone exactly right. As we approach our facility renewal, I'd like to model the unity our clients expect. Would you co-lead the demonstration dive? Your expertise would be valuable. Every word calculated, every procedure logged. I didn't just want witnesses, I needed an airtight record. Attorney Vega came through with 2 crucial documents, a detailed filming consent form and an escrow arrangement for the raw footage. Make sure everyone signs before they set foot on that boat, she insisted. I spent a full day rehearsing the tank swap with Gloria watching. We configured a primary line with a tamper-evident seal, the kind that leaves clear marks if anyone tries to mess with it. Show me again, Gloria demanded, and I walked through the sequence for the 5th time. Good, smooth, natural. The weather report promised calm seas and clear skies. Perfect visibility conditions. I double-checked the marina permits, confirmed the launch time, and laid out every piece of equipment for morning inspection. "Remember," Gloria said as we finished the final checklist, "you're not just protecting your business now. You're protecting every student who trusts you with their safety out there." My phone buzzed. Marcus's reply, "Count me in, Mom. Looking forward to it." That winking emoji sat there like a challenge. But this time, I felt my jaw tighten with determination instead of dread. You ever watch a moray eel hunt? They don't chase their prey. They wait, positioned just right, until the target swims confidently into range. That's what this showcase would be. Not an attack, but an opportunity for truth to surface on its own. Gloria squeezed my shoulder before heading home. "Get some sleep. Tomorrow needs your best focus." I nodded, but we both knew sleep would be scarce tonight. I had one chance to get this right. One chance to show everyone exactly who was compromising safety out there. My phone lit up again, Candace Lee confirming her attendance. Then Patel Oceanic Trust. Finally, Darlene Walker's terse "will attend." I stood at the dock's edge, listening to the gentle lap of waves against the pilings. The same sound I'd heard every morning for 15 years. But tonight, it carried a different rhythm. Not defeat, not retreat. Strategy. The pieces were in place: press, sponsors, cameras, and Marcus's overconfident acceptance. Come morning, the truth would finally have its day in the sun, and more importantly, its moment beneath the waves. Dawn painted the marina gold, that special Florida light that makes everything look fresh and possible. I'd been up since 4, triple-checking every detail until my checklist had check marks on its check marks. The camera housings clicked shut with that solid sound of security. Green battery bars showed full power across all units. I stacked the consent forms in a waterproof box, each one signed and witnessed. No loose ends today. Morning. Candace Lee strode down the dock, reporter's pad already in hand. Quite the turnout. She wasn't wrong. A small crowd had gathered, mostly industry folks who'd caught wind of the showcase. I noticed how they clustered in little groups, whispering, wondering which version of events they'd see today. The Patel Oceanic representative, a sharp-eyed woman named Sandra, worked through her liability forms with military precision. "Documentation appears complete," she said, giving me a professional nod. "Remember that moment before a big presentation when your stomach does that little flip? Mine was doing Olympic-level gymnastics. But I kept my game face on, especially when Darlene Walker appeared. She wore that crisp navy suit of hers, pearl studs catching the morning light. Her expression stayed cool and measured, the perfect board chair's poker face. "Alicia," she said simply. "Darlene, thank you for coming." I matched her tone exactly. Then Marcus showed up, all easy smiles and confident swagger. He'd chosen his newest wetsuit, the one with those flashy trim lines. Always the showman. "Hey, Mom," he called out, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Beautiful morning for a demonstration, right?" I smiled back, professional to my bones. "Perfect conditions. Let's review the dive plan." I assigned him to valve checks, making sure our little audience could see every move. Marcus played his part perfectly, moving through each task with theatrical care. Every now and then, I caught him glancing at the cameras. Gloria stood by the monitor bank, her eyes never leaving the surface feed. She'd positioned herself just right, casual enough not to draw attention, close enough to catch everything. Devin knelt by the main camera housing, adjusting white balance with careful turns of the dial. "Color correction set," he reported. "Visibility should be excellent." I ran through my 5-count breathing exercise, the same one I'd taught countless students over the years. In through the nose, hold, out through the mouth, each breath steadier than the last. Devin and I exchanged our prearranged signals for the tank swap, simple hand codes that looked natural to observers but carried our whole strategy. He nodded once, sharp and sure. "Entry in 3 minutes," I announced. "Final equipment checks, please." The water welcomed us with that first shock of morning cool. We descended in perfect formation, the donor stand-ins keeping their practice distance. At 45 feet, the visibility opened up like a curtain drawing back. Coral fans waved lazy greetings in the current. You know that moment in a dive when everything aligns? When the water clarity and the light and the current all come together just right? This was that moment, except instead of enjoying it, I was counting on it. I adjusted my trim, letting my body tilt just enough. The unguarded cylinder, the one we'd prepared so carefully, drifted into the perfect position. Accessible, tempting, a test of character wrapped in opportunity. Through my mask, I watched Marcus's eyes track the movement. His hand, wrapped in that distinctive blue glove he always wore, drifted closer to the valve stem. The cameras hummed, invisible but vigilant. Every angle covered, every movement captured. Above us, Gloria would be, watching it all unfold in real time. Marcus's fingers extended toward the valve, and I felt a different kind of pressure in my chest, not from depth or air, but from the weight of what was about to happen. You ever notice how time moves different underwater? How seconds can stretch like hours when you're waiting for something to happen? That's how it felt watching Marcus through my mask. His movements were careful, practiced, like he'd rehearsed this dance before. And maybe he had. The thought sent a chill through me that had nothing to do with water temperature. Marcus palmed a multi-tool from his BC pocket with the smoothness of a street magician. If you weren't looking for it, you'd miss it completely. But I was looking, and so were 5 different camera angles. He lifted the tank strap like he was doing a routine check, natural as breathing. But his other hand moved toward the valve, with too much purpose for comfort. I kept my buoyancy neutral, fighting the urge to intervene. The auxiliary camera mounted on my left shoulder hummed quietly, its red recording light steady in my peripheral vision. My actual primary tank, the one I was breathing from, stayed snug against my back, untouched and sealed. The decoy we'd rigged earlier hung right where Marcus could reach it, looking for all the world like my main supply. A red dot appeared on my wrist computer. Devon's signal. 3 quick flashes. Everything was recording clear as crystal. Green light to proceed. I shifted my weight in the water, making sure the tamper-evident band we'd placed earlier faced the main camera. The group of observers hovered nearby, their attention split between the reef and our safety demonstration. I turned my body just enough to give my helmet cam a perfect view of Marcus's hands. Years of diving had taught me exactly how to move underwater without drawing attention. Today, that skill was worth its weight in gold. A string of bubbles escaped from where Marcus worked on the gasket, tiny silver beads racing to the surface. He froze for a split second, head swiveling to check if anyone had noticed. The donors were watching a parrotfish. The reporter was scribbling on her underwater slate. Only Devon and I saw, and we looked, appropriately distracted. Marcus went back to work, his confidence restored. I wanted to laugh at how predictable it was, how greed makes people blind to the obvious. Instead, I gave the group a calm, okay signal, keeping my movements slow and steady. No need to spook anyone before we had what we needed. I checked my computer, made a show of studying the numbers, then signaled for ascent. Perfect timing. We'd been down just long enough to make it. Look natural, not long enough for anyone to get suspicious. The ladder materialized above us like a promise. As we neared the surface, I heard Gloria's voice carry across the water. Keep those cameras rolling. I want every second until they're out of gear. Remember what I said about timing being everything? This was the moment all those years of playing it straight, of triple-checking every detail, would finally pay off. Marcus had just written his own ending, 1 frame at a time. I watched the sunlight fracture through the surface waves, each sparkle like a tiny camera flash. Evidence has a funny way of catching the light sometimes. I climbed that ladder with legs steadier than my heart. The marina's weathered planks had never felt more solid under my feet as I unclipped my BC and set it carefully on the deck. Around us, people were already gathering. Word travels fast when there's drama on the water. Gloria hunched over a portable monitor she'd set up near the stern, her fingers dancing across the controls with surprising speed for someone who claimed to be retired from all this technical nonsense. The footage started playing, crystal clear in the morning light. "Here," Gloria said, tapping the screen. "Watch his left hand." Reporter Candace leaned in close, her notepad forgotten as she watched Marcus's movements in high definition. The timestamp in the corner ticked away while depth readings scrolled beneath. Everything documented, everything precise. "Stop there," Candace said sharply. The frame froze on Marcus's hand holding the multi-tool. "And the tamper-evident band?" I stepped forward, pointing to the unbroken seal on my actual tank. "Intact. We can match the serial number to our morning log." The bubble string played next, those tiny silver betrayals, rising like truth itself toward the surface. Darlene Walker stood slightly apart from the group, her usual composed expression cracking around the edges. I'd never seen her face quite that shade of pale before. The Patel representative, Sandra, I think her name was, had her phone out, thumbs moving fast. "My director needs to see this immediately," she said, not looking up. "All of it." Devin moved to stand beside me, holding out a fresh witness statement. His signature looked bolder than usual at the bottom. "Everything I saw, everything I recorded," he said quietly. "Just like last time, but now we've got the proof." A new set of footsteps sounded on the dock. Attorney Vega climbed aboard, a thick file folder tucked under her arm. The morning sun caught her steel-gray hair like a crown. "Perfect timing," she said, laying the folder on our chart table. "Because this isn't just about today." She spread out financial summaries, bank statements, transfer records, grant disbursement logs. My stomach clenched as I saw the numbers. Highlighted transfers showed money moving from our research accounts into a personal one. Dates matching perfectly with Marcus's flashy independent venture marketing campaign. "He funded his takeover with stolen grant money," Vega said, her voice carrying across the now silent deck. "Every ad buy, every piece of equipment, all paid for with diverted funds." I squared my shoulders, feeling the weight of every eye on me. "Two things happen now," I said, my voice clearer than I'd expected. "First, an emergency board petition for immediate and full operational control. Second, this evidence goes to the state attorney's office." The silence held for a moment, broken only by the slap of waves against the hull. Then Candace stepped forward, recorder in hand. "Dr. Monroe, would you care to make a statement for this evening's broadcast?" Before I could answer, I heard heavy footsteps behind me. Marcus stood at the edge of the crowd, jaw muscles working beneath his skin. His eyes darted between the monitor, the financial documents, and my face. In the distance, sirens wailed, growing louder as they approached the Marina Road. I thought of all those nights I'd spent in the lab. Marcus, sleeping on a cot beside my desk while I logged data. All those birthdays celebrated late because the tides wouldn't wait. All that sacrifice, all that love, all that trust. And here we were. The marina fell silent except for those approaching sirens, and I watched my son's face as he realized exactly what kind of trap he'd walked into. Sometimes the hardest lessons come from our own choices, and sometimes justice tastes like salt water in the back of your throat. The afternoon moved like clockwork after that. You ever watch dominoes fall? One tips, then another. Then suddenly they're all tumbling exactly the way they're supposed to. That's how justice felt that day. 2 officers from Financial Crimes stepped onto the dock at 2:15 p.m. sharp. They carried tablets and determination, serving Marcus with account freeze orders pending their investigation. I watched his hands clench and unclench as they explained the terms. No withdrawals, no transfers, no touching a single penny until they untangled every transaction. "This is ridiculous," Marcus snapped, but his voice had lost its usual polish. "You can't just—" "We can, and we are," the lead investigator cut in, calm as still water. "The evidence suggests systematic misappropriation of grant funds. That's more than enough for a freeze." While they handled Marcus, Attorney Vega commandeered my office, her fingers flying over her laptop keyboard. "Filing to remove him from both the lease and corporate registry," she announced, not looking up. With this documentation, it should process by end of day. My phone started buzzing non-stop around 3 p.m. The diving community's group chat was lighting up like Christmas. Word spreads fast in our world. We're all connected by saltwater and safety concerns. Within an hour, Marcus's name hit every blacklist from Miami to Tampa. No boat would hire him, no shop would rent him gear, no instructor would partner with him. In our business, trust is everything. Once you lose it, you're done. Remember those old dive watches, how the second hand would tick so steady you could time your life by it? That's how the rest of the day moved. Precise. Inevitable. By 4:30, sponsor Patel's office had emailed their official statement, restoring our funding with new conditions, all tied to documented safety protocols and transparent oversight. Fine by me. I'd been keeping triple records since day one. The board met virtually at 5 p.m. Darlene Walker looked like she'd aged 10 years since morning. The vote was unanimous. Full ownership transferred to me, all Marcus's claims dissolved. I walked that paper straight to the marina office, watched Ms. Rodriguez stamp it official with her usual flourish. "About time," she said, sliding the lease across her desk. "Some people need to learn the hard way." 2 days later, I stood on our rebuilt dock just as sunrise painted the sky coral and gold. The same sky I'd watched thousands of times, but somehow it felt different now. Cleaner maybe, or maybe that was just me standing straighter. A cluster of reporters gathered near the bow of our main boat. Local news mostly, plus Candace with her, station's best camera operator. They'd come for what the press release called a recommitment ceremony. But really, it was simpler than that. It was about showing everyone exactly who we are and what we stand for. I lifted the silver oxygen tank from its case, letting morning light catch the fresh engraving. Dr. Alicia Monroe, head of operations, safety above all. The metal felt cool and solid in my hands, just like truth should. Cameras clicked and whirred. Someone asked about Marcus. He was facing criminal charges now, his reputation in tatters. 2 kinds of drowning, you might say. But I didn't need to speak about that. The facts spoke plenty loud on their own. Instead, I focused on our new safety charter, walking reporters through the triple-check systems we'd always used, showed them our upgraded camera arrays, our enhanced logging procedures, our commitment to transparent operations. Trust isn't just earned once. It's earned every single day, every single dive. I settled the tank into its rack, running my palm over those engraved letters one more time. Out on the water, pelicans were diving for their breakfast, hitting the surface with perfect confidence. They knew exactly who they were, what they were doing, just like I did. You know what 25 years of studying ocean life teaches you? That some things run deeper than blood, like truth, like consequences. Like the simple fact that trust, real trust, isn't something you inherit just because you share someone's name. It's something you build, action by action, choice by choice, day by day. I rested my hand on that silver tank, felt its solid presence, and took one long, steady breath. "Trust is earned," I said quietly, "not inherited."